Good morning, children. It's Mrs. Mystery here. Thursday, the 25th of February 2021. Today's SPAG lesson, spellings, punctuation and grammar. Suffixes. A suffix is a letter or group of letters that goes at the end of a word and changes the word's meaning. So here are some root words you know. Can you choose the correct suffix to make a new word? And the suffixes that you will use are full and less. For example, pain becomes painful with the suffix ful at the end of it. So here are your words. Number 1, wander. Number 2, home. Number 3, cheer. How did you do? Let's have a look. Number 1, wonder becomes wonderful with the suffix full at the end of it. Number 2, home becomes homeless with the suffix less at the end of it. Number 3, cheer becomes cheerful with the suffix full at the end of it. Can you think of any more words that you can add the suffix full and less to? Today's learning question, children, for English is, can I visualise a setting? Steps to success. I can draw a picture to represent a setting. I can annotate my picture. I can use adjectives to describe a noun. Today we are going to read the first chapter of our book, The Hedgehog. You need to listen carefully to the description of the park as it will help you with your task today. The Hedgehog, Chapter 1. Your Auntie Betty has copped it, said Pa Hedgehog to Ma. Oh no, cried Ma. Where? Just down the road, opposite the newsagent's. Bad place to cross that. Everywhere's a bad place to cross nowadays, said Ma. The traffic's dreadful. Do you realise, Pa, that's the third this year, and all on my side of the family too. First there was grandfather, then my second cousin once removed, and now poor old Auntie Betty. They were sitting in a flower bed at their home, the garden of number 5A of a row of semi-detached houses in a suburban street. On the other side of the road was a park, very popular with local hedgehogs on account of the good hunting it offered, as well as worms and slugs and snails which they could find in their own gardens. There were special attractions in the park. Mice lived under the bandstand feeding on the crumbs dropped from listeners' sandwiches. Frogs dwelt in the lily pond, and in the ornamental garden grass snakes slithered through the shrubbery. All these creatures were regarded as great delicacies by the hedgehogs, and they could never resist the occasional night's sport in the park. But to reach it, they had to cross the busy road. And there's a picture of the park. Poor old Auntie Betty, said Ma again. It's a hard life, and that's flat. It's a hard death, said Pa sourly, and that's flat too. Talk about squashed, the poor old girl was. Shh, said Ma at the sound of approaching footsteps. not in front of the children, as up trotted 4 small figures, exact miniatures of their parents, except that their spines were still greyish rather than brown. 3 of them were little sows named by Ma, who was fond of flowers, peony, pansy and petunia. Pa had agreed reluctantly to these names, but had insisted upon his own choice for the 4th, a little boar. Boys, he said, needed noble sounding names, and the 4th youngster was therefore called Victor Maximilian St. George, Max for short. Almost from the moment his eyes had opened, while his prickles were still soft and rubbery, Max had shown promise of being a bright boy, and by now his eyes, his ears, his wits were all as sharp as his spines. "What are you talking about, Ma?" he said. "Nothing," said Ma hastily. "You wouldn't be talking about nothing," said Max, "or there wouldn't be any point in talking." "Don't be cheeky," said Pa, "and mind your own business." "Well, I suppose it is their business really, Pa, isn't it?" said Ma, "or soon will be. They're bound to go exploring outside our garden before long, and we must warn them." "You're right," said Pa. "Now then, you kids, just you listen to me," and he proceeded to give his children a long lecture about the problems of road safety for hedgehogs. Max listened carefully. Then he said, "Do humans cross the road?" "I suppose so," said Pa. "But they don't get killed?" "Don't think so," said Pa. "Never seen one lying in the road, which I would have if they did." "Well then," said Max, "how do they get across safely?" "You tell me, son, you tell me," said Pa. "I will," said Max, "I will." So children, close your eyes and imagine what the park's like. Why is the park so interesting? What kind of tasty food is there for Max and his family? Today you are drawing and labelling a picture of the park showing Max and his family enjoying a night there and looking for delicacies, food. Go back and read the description of the park again, children. Look at the example on the next page. Here is an example of the park with Max and his family enjoying the delicacies in the park. Remember to annotate your picture. Use adjectives to describe the nouns. For example, juicy slimy worms, huge slimy frogs. What other things would Max and his family be enjoying at the park? Good luck, children.